They tell you to just be a good guy, be respectful, be kind, be the one she can rely on, the one everyone at work nods at like you're some golden retriever in a button-up. They say that's the way, that's how you build trust, that's how you win people over. They say if you want to be a leader, be likable, smile more, use exclamation points in your emails, apologize when you step out of line, even if the line moved while you were walking. But here's the part they leave out, the part they never say out loud, that every guy figures out the hard way. The more you try to be liked, the less they take you seriously. You don't earn respect by being liked, you earn it by having a spine. You earn it by drawing lines and not flinching when someone tries to step over them. You earn it when people know, without you saying it, that you're not the one to mess with. You want fear and respect? You won't get it with a smile. And if you're chasing both fear and approval, you've already lost. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to stop being everyone's favorite joke and start being the man they respect, even if they don't like you. This whole thing starts early, like elementary school early. You figure out fast that people react when you're nice. You help with someone's homework, they smile at you. You give away your toy, they invite you to play. You start linking being liked with being included. And that right there, that wiring, that's the slow poison. Because years later, you're still doing the same damn thing, just with a suit on or a gym membership. You still think if you overextend, if you please, if you go out of your way just enough, maybe this time she'll want you. Maybe this time your boss will notice. Maybe this time the world will finally say, you're a good man. But you don't want to be a good man, you want to be a respected one, a feared one, a man they listen to even when they disagree, a man they remember when he walks out of the room, and to get there you have to kill the part of you that needs to be liked. Let me paint you a picture. You're sitting in a meeting, you've got something to say, something important, but the room's tense, you hesitate, you soften the blow, you smile while saying it, you even tag a "just my opinion" on the end. What happens? Nothing. Someone else jumps in, restates what you said, but without the tail between the legs delivery. They get the nods, they get the credit. You sit there wondering what just happened. Here's what happened. You chose being liked over being heard. You thought diplomacy would win respect. It didn't. It never does. There's a difference between being diplomatic and being soft. You think being low conflict makes you evolved, mature. Nah, man, it just makes you forgettable. Every group has that one guy nobody interrupts. He speaks once, everyone listens. Not because he's loud, but because when he talks, it means something. He doesn't need you to like it. He doesn't need your agreement. He's not auditioning. He talks like a man who doesn't care if it makes you uncomfortable. Because truth doesn't bend to your feelings. And that's where fear begins, not in being cruel, but in being uncompromising. See, fear isn't about being violent or angry or unpredictable. Fear is about consequence. It's about knowing that if you step out of line with a man, there will be a cost. Maybe not now, maybe not loud, but there's no free shot when it comes to him. You feel that boundary in your gut. You don't need to be told. You just know he's not the one. So when you try to blend that energy with approval-seeking behavior, you cancel both out. You can't be feared if you're desperate to be liked, and you can't be truly liked if people secretly don't respect you. There's no middle lane. You either command the room or you wait for permission to speak. Now here's where it gets brutal. You can't act like the feared guy. You can't just lower your voice and spread your shoulders and hope they believe it. That's cosplay. They'll smell it a mile away. The guy who really carries fear doesn't need to posture. He's just grounded, rooted, calm, and completely unwilling to tolerate disrespect, no matter how small. I had a friend in college who everyone liked. Friendly guy, got invited to everything, always had a joke. But deep down, nobody listened to him. Nobody came to him when things got real. When the fights broke out, when the deadlines hit, when the drama exploded, he was background noise. A good dude, but not that dude. Contrast that with a guy I worked with later in my 20s, never smiled unless he meant it, didn't talk much, but when he did, you shut up. You felt the weight of it. He didn't try to charm anyone, didn't need to. He had presence. Not because he was trying, but because he knew exactly who the hell he was, and he didn't owe anyone an apology for it. You might not like him, but you'd never disrespect him. Ever. That's what real fear looks like. And if that word, fear, still rubs you wrong, if it still sounds like some villain energy, here's the wake up. You've been domesticated, told to muzzle your edge, to be polite, safe, harmless. You've been told that masculinity with teeth is toxic. You've been neutered into believing that your job is to please. But here's the deal. If no one fears crossing you, no one will respect you. And if no one respects you, it doesn't matter how much they like you. Because they'll use you. They'll ignore you. And when things fall apart, you'll be the guy picking up the pieces while they move on. So you've got a choice to make. And no, you don't get both. You can be liked or you can be feared. Let's be real. You already know which one you've been choosing. You've been chasing approval like it's oxygen, walking on eggshells, laughing at jokes that weren't funny, letting people talk over you, staying quiet when you wanted to speak, nodding even when you disagreed. You've convinced yourself that being agreeable is being smart, that silence is strategy, that you're playing the long game. But the truth, you're playing not to lose, and that's why you're losing. You want to know why the girl you wanted fell for the other guy? The one who didn't text back right away, the one who told her no without blinking, the one who didn't soften his edges to make her feel safe. It's because deep down, she felt something around him. Risk, tension, challenge. With you, she felt comfort, predictability, warmth. And yeah, maybe you were the one she should have picked. But no woman dreams about the guy who makes her feel safe like a weighted blanket. She dreams about the man who makes her feel uncertain in the best way, the one who keeps her just a little off balance, the one who leads. And you can't lead from the passenger seat. Being feared doesn't mean you're cruel. It means you're firm. It means your words carry weight because you live by them. It means when you say something, people listen. Not because you yell, but because you don't. Because you don't repeat yourself. Because you don't chase people's feelings after delivering the truth. Because your self-respect comes first, and if someone doesn't like it, there's the door. Now let's flip this. You want to keep being the likable guy? Cool. Here's what that life looks like. You're always explaining yourself. You're constantly overthinking. You get walked on, at work, in relationships, in your own damn family. You sit on rage you never release. You swallow your opinions. You apologize for who you are. You're scared of conflict, so you call it emotional intelligence. You're scared of losing people, so you tolerate disrespect and call it compromise. You spend your whole life on a leash made of your own approval addiction, and when it snaps, you don't get angry, you just feel empty. You don't need another tip on how to communicate better. You need to cut the rope, because being respected, being feared, it starts inside. It's not how you act, it's how you see yourself. Do you see yourself as someone worth defending, worth standing up for, worth enforcing boundaries around? If not, don't expect anyone else to. It starts with the little things, how you walk into a room, how you carry your eye contact, whether your handshake is limp or firm, whether your no sounds like a boundary or a question, whether you let the silence sit without panicking to fill it. It's all communication. Every move you make tells people one of two things: I'm safe to ignore, or I'm not the one. You ever notice how the most respected men talk? Not fast, not loud, but measured, intentional. They don't explain themselves twice. They don't try to be liked. You might not even agree with them, but you'll think about what they said 3 days later in the shower, because it sticks. You want that? Stop being the entertainer. Stop throwing punchlines like a clown desperate for validation. Stop pretending to be chill when you're actually furious. Stop co-signing things you don't believe in just to keep the peace. Newsflash, there is no peace when you're betraying yourself. Start by doing this. Next time you feel that reflex, that urge to sugarcoat or apologize or shrink, stop. Say what you actually want to say, not with edge, with clarity. Then shut up. Sit in the discomfort. Let them squirm. Let the silence burn. That's the moment you take your power back. You'll feel it. You'll feel your spine straighten, your voice deepen. You'll feel less like a boy pretending, more like a man returning. And here's where it gets interesting. People will start treating you differently. Some will pull back. Some will test you harder. That's fine. That's part of it. You're not here to be approved of. You're here to be undeniable. And guess what? The right people, the ones who matter, they'll respect you more. Because they'll feel safer with a man who won't fold. Even if they don't always like you, they'll trust you. And that trust, that's worth 10,000 compliments from people who secretly don't take you seriously. But it's going to cost you, because becoming that man means killing the one you've been. And he won't go quietly. He'll try to convince you that playing nice is smart. That letting things slide is mature. That keeping everyone happy is strong. He'll whisper that you don't want to rock the boat, that you're not that guy. Kill that voice, bury it. That voice is the ghost of every weak man who settled for likability because he didn't have the guts to be feared. You want peace? Be dangerous. Real peace doesn't come from being harmless. It comes from being capable and choosing when to show it. You want to stop getting walked on? Start carrying consequence. You want respect? Stop begging for approval. You don't need more people to like you. You need to stop giving a damn if they do. There's this idea you've been sold, that respect and likability live on the same path, that you can just be a nice alpha, that you can be the tough guy and the sweetheart. It's the lie behind every soft-spoken YouTuber with perfect lighting and zero scars. They tell you that if you're just high value enough, women will chase you and men will admire you and the world will fall into place like a movie ending. But here's the truth, no one's putting in a thumbnail. You can't be feared and liked, not at the same time, not by the same people, not in the same moment. Because fear lives in the unknown, in tension, in the reality that you're not to be crossed, that you carry something deeper than pleasantries. And you know what's on the other side of that coin? Discomfort, polarity. People will feel things around you they're not used to. Some won't like it, some will walk away. Let them. That's how you know you're finally walking in your own frame, not theirs. People don't fear the guy who never says no. They don't fear the guy who's always smiling. They don't fear the guy who changes his tone depending on who's in the room. They fear the man who doesn't need the room at all, because deep down, they can tell. They can tell when you've got nothing to lose. When you don't need the job, the friends, the girl, the applause, that's power. That's the moment you go from a background character in your own story to the man writing the script. And the funny thing, the second you stop trying to be liked, the right people start coming closer. Why? Because you're real, because you're honest, because you're solid. You're not playing games, you're not performing, you're not another approval-chasing, emoji-texting, limp-wristed fake who folds the second there's tension. You're a rock in a world full of wind chimes. But make no mistake, this path is not glamorous. You will lose people, you'll be misunderstood, you'll be called names, you'll be told you've changed, and in a way they're right, you have changed. You stopped being their emotional crutch. You stopped being the soft shoulder they leaned on while giving you nothing in return. You stopped trying to be everyone's emotional support animal. You'll be accused of being too harsh, too direct, too much. Good. That means they feel it. That means it's working. You were never put here to be digestible. You were put here to lead, but don't get this twisted. Being feared doesn't mean being an asshole. It doesn't mean barking at people or flexing on the weak. That's insecurity wearing a tough guy mask. Being feared means being the man who doesn't bluff. It means when you say you're done, you're done. When you say, don't talk to me like that, you mean it. When you say, I'm not okay with this, you walk if it continues. Fear comes from certainty, from clarity, from the quiet, unfakeable conviction that you are not for sale. And the moment people realize you actually mean it, that's when everything changes. You'll start seeing it in their eyes, that subtle shift, that respect, that calculation. They'll approach you differently, speak to you differently, not because you demanded it, but because your presence does. It shows up in your walk, in your silence, in your refusal to explain yourself to people who aren't on your level. It shows up when you cut off a woman mid-guilt trip and calmly say, you don't talk to me like that, and then walk away without waiting for approval. It shows up when you turn down a favor you don't want to do and don't explain why. You just say, no, I'm not available, and that's it. Period. It shows up when someone tests your boundary and instead of reacting with rage or weakness, you just let them go. Quietly, permanently, without noise, without debate. That's what makes people take you seriously. The knowing that you are not afraid to walk alone, that you don't need a tribe to feel valuable, that if every person turned their back tomorrow, you'd still be standing, back straight, shoulders square, knowing exactly who you are. That's what fear actually looks like. Not terror, not panic. Just the heavy silence of consequence. So yeah, you can keep being liked, keep being the go-along guy, keep posting the smiley photos, keep chasing the sweet tone, keep apologizing for making people uncomfortable, keep diluting your truth into something drinkable, or you can stop caring. And the second you do, they'll start paying attention. You ever wonder why some men just have that aura? Not rich, not loud, not even especially attractive, but when they walk into a room, it's like the air shifts. Conversations pause, eyes drift, people straighten up, not out of fear like they're about to get hit, but fear like they're in the presence of something unshakable, something that doesn't flinch, something that could burn you if you get too close. That's not charisma, that's consequence. And here's what no one tells you, you don't earn that with approval. You build it in silence, in dark moments, in the gym at 6 a.m. when no one's watching. In saying no to things that would have flattered your ego but drained your soul, in walking away from people who crossed you even when it hurt, in staying calm when everything around you screams for a reaction. You build it every time you put your values before your comfort. You build it every time you tell the truth, even when your voice shakes. You build it when you stop explaining yourself to people who don't deserve access to your thoughts. Most men will never know what that feels like. They'll spend their whole life building sandcastles for people to like them, They'll shrink themselves down so they don't upset the room. They'll flirt with a life of smallness, hoping they get praised just enough to forget how hollow it feels. But not you. You're here because you're tired of it. Tired of smiling when you don't feel like it. Tired of being the nice guy who gets left behind. Tired of the nights where you look in the mirror and don't recognize the man you see because you're still living in the shell of someone everyone else wanted you to be. That ends here. From this moment forward, you stop negotiating with your integrity. You stop trading your self-respect for company. You stop trying to be the guy who gets along with everyone. You're not here to be palatable. You're not here to blend in. You're here to build gravity. And that gravity comes from silence, from depth, from being the one who doesn't rush to fill awkward moments, from being the one who doesn't laugh just to smooth things over, from being the one who can stand alone in a room and still own it. You think you need to say more. You don't. You think you need to explain more. You don't. You think you need to be nicer, softer, more accommodating. You don't. You need to mean more. Every word, every movement, every look. When you say it like it costs you something. Speak like your time matters, because it does. And the second you start doing that, really doing that, the world adjusts. You'll see it, in small ways at first. The girl who used to flake suddenly shows up on time. The coworker who used to interrupt you suddenly goes quiet when you talk. The friend who used to always push your boundaries suddenly starts asking instead of assuming. Why? Because the world listens to the man who doesn't need it to. You don't become that man by reading more books. You become him by drawing a line and staying behind it. That line might cost you people. It might cost you comfort. It might even cost you the version of yourself you've spent years building just to survive. But what you get in return is you. You without the masks. You without the apologetic tone. You without the fear of being disliked by people who never mattered. You feared, not because you're cruel, but because you're unshakable. That's the choice. Liked, safe, predictable, forgettable, feared, respected, weighted, remembered. So what's it going to be? Because if you don't choose, the world will choose for you.